This is the fair city of Perth, former capital of Scotland and the site of many historical events in which the fate of the country was involved. Perth was one of the first places in Scotland where John Knox, the fiery religious leader, openly declared and executed the doctrines which resulted in the formation of the various Protestant churches. The prolific pen of Sir Walter Scott has done much to perpetuate this historic capital of ancient Scotland in his story of the Fair Maid of Perth, who was the daughter of Simon, a poor but proud glover. She was so beautiful that men of all ranks courted her affection, and much blood was shed among them, a pitched battle having been fought in this very street before she finally consented to marry a suitor of lowly estate. This old stone house in which the fair maid is said to have lived is now an attraction for tourists. At the time of our visit, we had the pleasure of being escorted by a sergeant of the local police force who spoke with a Scottish accent so thick that we had difficulty in understanding him. Much to our surprise, we learned that this stalwart Scotsman was born in St. Louis, Missouri. He left the United States at an early age and wandered back to the land of his ancestors. He told us that the best friend he had left in the world was his dog. It's Sunday morning, and there are many fair maids in Perth, including this bevy of military pulchritude, marching not to battle, but to church. Marching is a traditional pastime in Perth, and nothing rouses the spirit of the people more than the skirl of bagpipes on parade. The bagpipe very early identified itself with the life of the Scottish people and became a military instrument, which they have always held in great esteem. In days of yore, the thrilling notes of the bagpipes called the clans together and instilled in every loyal Scotsman something of that rugged and indomitable spirit that has made him a credit to his country wherever he goes. From Perth, it is a distance of about 100 miles to Inverness, another historical city which once had the distinction of being the capital of the Pictish Kingdom, extending over all of northern Scotland. Its comparatively modern castle of today now stands on the site of its predecessor, around which centered much of the history of ancient Scotia. Not far from Inverness is Loch Ness, the largest and most northerly lake in the great glen of northern Scotland. It has a maximum depth of 700 feet, and it has never been known to freeze. This picturesque body of water received considerable publicity a few years ago as the abode of a prehistoric animal known as the Loch Ness Monster. And now we come to the most hallowed ground in all of Scotland, upon which the Battle of Culloden was fought between the Highland clans and the English soldiers headed by the Duke of Cumberland. According to this crude monument's inscription, the Battle of Culloden was fought on this moor, 16th of April, 1746. The graves of the gallant Highlanders who fought for Scotland and Prince Charlie are marked by the names of their clans. In some instances, several clans got mixed in the confusion of battle, and this accounts for the graves marked mixed clans. Although time has long since healed the wounds and bridged the breach that once existed between England and Scotland, they who fought and died here will long be remembered for their valor. At Glencoe, we pause to admire one of the most beautiful bodies of water in the British Isles. En route to St. Andrews, we pass acres of wildflowers, the most conspicuous of which is the famous heather, a prolific flower that has identified itself with Scotland in song and story for centuries. Among the world's most interesting animals are Highland cattle, a shaggy breed that is noted for its hardiness and capacity to stand winter exposure. We were told that these cattle do not thrive away from their native heaths, and although a few of them have been exported to America, they could not adapt themselves to changed conditions and soon died. This old fellow's horns have a spread of over 5 feet from point to point. Many of the large estates which were in the hands of the old Scottish hereditary families have been broken up in recent years, but here and there, lairds of the land may still be seen in their Highland attire, which lends color and atmosphere to the countryside. Continuing our journey, we pass through locales that abound in settings like this. On a rocky promontory jutting into the North Sea is St. Andrews, the ancient ecclesiastical capital of Scotland, a fashionable summer resort and the official headquarters of the game of golf. The Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, founded in 1754, is the premier golf club in the world and is the ruling authority on the game. We salute the flag of St. Andrew in the name of the Royal and Ancient Game, which has extended itself out over the 7 seas into foreign lands, where golf has become an international ambassador of goodwill and fair play. The autumn golf meeting at the end of September is the principal event of the year in this part of the world. Although there are many inland golf courses in Scotland, the most famous seem to be those of the traditional seaside type, among the sand dunes, where there is usually no out of bounds, the sea being treated as a hazard. Since becoming an amateur golfer, it has been the ambition of your narrator to drive a ball from the home tee at St. Andrews. And now at last, that ambition is about to be gratified. And that's that. In 1754, the first championship match was played here by a king and a tradesman against 2 nobles. The balls they used were made of leather and filled with feathers. If a ball broke, which it frequently did, the new ball was put where the largest fragment of the old one fell. Because of the prolific growth of daisies on the course, they were obliged to use colored balls. One of the most unusual cemeteries in the world is the one at St. Andrews, which contains the graves of famous golfers. In memory of Tommy, son of Thomas Morris, who died 25th of December, 1875, aged 24 years, deeply regretted by numerous friends and all golfers. He thrice in succession won the champion's belt and held it without rivalry and yet without envy, his many amiable qualities being no less acknowledged than his many golfing achievements. This monument has been erected by contributions from 60 golfing societies. Verily, golf is taken very seriously at St. Andrews. And it is here that we conclude our impressions of a wee bit of Scotland.